Write something here. Monologue, Christian Contentment, a tale from Jeremiah Burroughs. Hello, friends. Picture this: we're sitting together in a cozy little room, the fireplace crackling warmly, while outside the cold wind sweeps across the winter fields. I'm Jeremiah Burroughs, or at least today, I'll speak with his spirit, a pastor who lived nearly 400 years ago and left us a rare jewel, Christian Contentment. Today, I'm going to take you into the first part of my book, The Rare Jewel of Christian Contentment, where I'll tell you what contentment is, why it's so beautiful, and how it can change your life even in the chaotic world we live in now. Are you ready? Let's begin. First, let me define contentment in the way I, Jeremiah, see it. Christian contentment is a sweet, peaceful state of the soul, where a person is fully satisfied with their circumstances, whatever they may be, because they trust that everything comes from the loving hand of God. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But let me tell you a story to make it clearer. Back when I was a pastor in England, there was a man named Thomas, a poor farmer living in a small village. One year, a flood swept through and destroyed his entire crop. Everyone thought Thomas would break, but I met him the day after the flood, and he said to me, "Pastor Burroughs, I've lost all my grain, but I still have my family, my health, and most importantly, I have God. I don't need anything more." I looked into his eyes, no bitterness, just a strange, steady peace. That's the contentment I'm talking about. It wasn't that he was pretending to be strong, his heart truly felt full. So, what is this contentment? It's like a cool stream flowing through your soul. Imagine you're walking through a desert, the sun scorching your skin, your throat parched, then suddenly, you find a clear, refreshing spring. You drink, and all your weariness melts away. That's what contentment feels like, a gentle, sweet relief, where you're no longer torn apart by questions like, why don't I have this, or why is my life so hard? Instead, you smile and say, God knows what's best for me. But hold on, don't misunderstand me. This contentment isn't apathy or laziness. I've met folks who just sit there, doing nothing, saying, well, my life's like this, so I'll just accept it. No, that's not it. Christian contentment is alive, active. It's like a sailor on a ship in the middle of the sea. The waves may rise, the wind may howl, but he doesn't let go of the helm. He keeps steering, keeps moving forward, only, there's no panic or despair in his heart. Let me share another example. There was a seamstress I knew named Mary. She fell ill, so sick she couldn't work anymore, and her family was dirt poor. But she told me, Pastor, I can't sew, but I can still pray, I can still sing praises to God. I'm not rich, but I'm happy. See that? Mary didn't just give up or wallow. She kept living, kept trying, but her heart was free, unbound by her losses. And that's another key point: contentment is freedom in the soul. Think about your life today. We're caught up in so much pressure, aren't we? Pressure from work, gotta make more money, gotta climb the ladder. Pressure from social media, gotta look good, gotta get likes. I bet you've scrolled through Instagram, seen someone on a fancy vacation or driving a new car, and thought, why not me? But a contented person is different. They look at their life, maybe a small apartment, a simple job, and say, I have enough. They're free, like a bird soaring through the sky, not chained by comparison or competition. I recall a young man in my congregation named William. He worked in London, a big city where everyone chased money and status. But one day, he lost his job when his company went bankrupt. He came back to the village with nothing but a few coins in his pocket. I asked, William, how do you feel? He smiled and said, Pastor, I used to think I needed a fortune to be happy. Now I see that as long as I have God, I'm fine. See that? William didn't let his circumstances rule his heart. He was free, and that's the beauty of contentment. So where does this contentment come from? Here's the greatest secret I want you to know: it comes from God. You can't manufacture it by trying harder or forcing yourself to feel good. No way. It's a gift from God, given when you trust that He loves you, that He cares for you, and that He has a plan for everything in your life. The Bible says, "Cast all your anxiety on Him, because He cares for you," 1 Peter 5:7. When you do that, your heart lightens like a weight lifting off your shoulders. Picture this: you're a little child, and outside, a storm is raging, thunder crashing, lightning flashing. But you're not afraid, because you're sitting in your Father's lap, and you know He'll keep you safe. Contentment is like that. No matter how life turns upside down, job loss, sickness, or the worst of days, you rest in God's arms. You trust He's enough for you, and that makes you peaceful. Now, let's bring this into your modern world. Today, we live in a whirlwind. You check your phone, bad news everywhere. You see friends posting about their new houses, their perfect lives. You go to work, your boss is tough, deadlines are tight. Ever feel like you're never enough? I get it. But imagine if you had this contentment. You wouldn't be swept up in the comparison game. You might lose your job, but you'd say, "I trust God has another plan." You might not be rich, but you'd say, "I have what I need." That's the power of contentment. It lets you live in this world while keeping your heart steady. One last story for you. Not long ago, I heard about a woman named Sarah, a single mom in a big city. She worked hard to raise her 2 kids, but then her hours got cut at work. Everyone thought she'd fall apart, but she told me, "Pastor, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know God's with me. I don't have to worry." Sarah wasn't wealthy, her life wasn't perfect, but she was content. And that made her stronger than anyone I've ever met. So there you have it, dear friends. Christian contentment isn't some lofty, unreachable thing. It's a sweet peace in your heart when you trust that God is enough, no matter what life throws at you. It's not apathy, it's strength. It's not bondage, it's freedom. And above all, it's a gift from God, there for anyone willing to take it. I hope this story has touched you, like a little flame in the fireplace warming a chilly room. Try this today: when trouble comes, pause, pray, and say, "God, I trust You're enough for me." See how your heart shifts. Thank you for listening to me, Jeremiah Burroughs, share this tale. I'll see you again for the next part, alright. Part 2 from Christian Contentment described to the mystery of contentment. So there you have it, dear friends. Christian contentment isn't some lofty, unreachable thing. It's a sweet peace in your heart when you trust that God is enough, no matter what life throws at you. It's not apathy, it's strength. It's not bondage, it's freedom. And above all, it's a gift from God, there for anyone willing to take it. I hope this story has touched you, like a little flame in the fireplace warming a chilly room. Try this today: when trouble comes, pause, pray, and say, "God, I trust You're enough for me." See how your heart shifts. But here's the thing: contentment isn't just a simple gift you unwrap and understand right away. Oh no, it's deeper than that, more mysterious, almost like a riddle wrapped in a promise. It's not just peace, it's a puzzle that challenges everything you thought you knew about happiness. So, stick with me, because we're about to step into something truly wondrous, the mystery of contentment. You're going to see this rare jewel sparkle in ways that'll surprise you, maybe even change you. Ready? Let's dive deeper together. Hello again, my dear friends. We're still here, huddled in this cozy room, the fire crackling a little louder now, as if it's leaning in to hear what's next. The wind outside weaves a soft melody through the night, and I, Jeremiah Burroughs, or at least the spirit of that old pastor from centuries past, am back to guide you further into my book, The Rare Jewel of Christian Contentment. Last time, I painted you a picture of what contentment feels like, that gentle, Steady peace in your soul, like a cool stream on a scorching day. But today, we're not stopping there. We're peeling back the curtain, stepping into part 2, the mystery of contentment. And oh, this is where the story gets rich and wild. Contentment isn't just a warm blanket for your heart, it's a mystery, a beautiful, upside-down secret that defies the world's rules. I've got tales to spin, truths to unravel, and a few wonders to share that might just leave you awestruck. So, settle in, grab a cup of tea if you've got one. I'm taking you on a journey that'll stir your soul and light up your mind. Let's begin. Why do I call contentment a mystery? Because it's not something you can pin down with logic alone. It's a living, breathing marvel you feel in your bones. The world screams at us, happiness is out there, chase it. Get more money, more power, a bigger house, a shinier life. But contentment? It turns that on its head and says, you can have almost nothing and still have everything. It's like stumbling on a diamond in a muddy ditch, impossible, yet there it is, gleaming. To show you what I mean, let me take you back to a story from my days as a pastor in England, a tale that still echoes in my heart. There was a merchant named Robert, a man who once ruled the seas with his wealth. He had ships brimming with silks and spices, a grand house with tall windows, servants scurrying at his every word. People envied him, called him blessed. But then came a night of terror. A storm roared in, fiercer than anyone had seen, and sank his entire fleet. In hours, he went from riches to rags. I found him a few days later, sitting by the riverbank, his fine coat traded for a tattered cloak. I braced myself for his grief, expecting a man crushed by fate. But he looked up, his eyes clear, and said, "Pastor Burroughs, I've lost my gold, but I've found my peace. I used to pace my halls at night, fretting over every ship. Now, with nothing to my name, I feel lighter than I ever have." I stood there, speechless. Empty hands, yet a heart overflowing. That's the mystery of contentment. It doesn't need wealth to shine, it thrives in the ashes. What makes this so mysterious? Let's dig in, layer by layer. First, contentment is a work of grace. We don't come by it naturally. Oh no, we're a grumbling bunch, us humans. I've watched it my whole life, children fussing for another slice of bread, farmers cursing a dry season, merchants like Robert fretting over profits even when their coffers were full. It's in our blood to want more, to kick against what we've got. But contentment? That's God's doing, a gift of grace that slips into your soul like a quiet guest. It's as if He takes a restless heart, all sharp edges and thorns, and smooths it with His touch, saying, "Rest here." For Robert, that storm could have hardened him into bitterness, but grace softened him instead. It's a miracle, like a barren field suddenly blooming with wild flowers. Let me weave you another tale to light this up. There was a widow named Elizabeth in my village, a woman life hadn't been kind to. Her husband died of a fever, leaving her with a crumbling cottage and no children to lean on. She scraped by, mending clothes for pennies, until one brutal winter when a snowstorm hit. The weight of it caved in her roof, and all she could do was drag her few belongings to a drafty shed behind the church. I trudged through the snow to check on her, my heart heavy, sure I'd find her broken. But there she was, bundled in a thin blanket, a candle flickering beside her. She looked up and smiled, and said, "Pastor, I've got this shed, a crust of bread, and my Bible to read by this little light. God's been so good to me I can't complain." I nearly dropped my lantern. The world would call her destitute, a soul to pity, but she glowed with a joy I couldn't fathom. That's the mystery, contentment doesn't wait for comfort, it builds its home in the cold. Let's go deeper still, contentment sees God's hand in everything. It's not about pasting a grin over your troubles, it's about looking through them, spotting the thread of God's purpose woven in. When the storm comes, the contented heart doesn't rage at the heavens, "Why me?" It bows and whispers, "Lord, what are you crafting here?" Think of Job, you know him, the man who lost it all, children, cattle, health, everything stripped away. Yet he sat in the dust and said, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away, blessed be the name of the Lord." Madness to the world, but a marvel to faith. Elizabeth lived that truth. She didn't pretend the shed was a palace, she felt the chill, the hunger, but she saw God holding her steady, like a captain steering through fog. That's the mystery, it turns your eyes from the mess to the maker. Here's another story, because these lives are lanterns lighting the way. There was a young man named Samuel, a carpenter's apprentice in my flock. He had a gift, could carve wood so smooth you'd swear it was silk, but his master was a brute. Paid him scraps, worked him till his fingers cracked and bled, barked orders like a drill sergeant. One evening, Samuel stumbled into the church, his apron stained, his shoulders sagging. I thought, this lad's done, he's walking away. But he sat down, rubbed his weary eyes, and said, "Pastor, I could despise my master, curse every splinter I pull from my hands. But I won't. God's put me here to teach me patience, maybe even love for a hard man. I'm thankful for it. Thankful. For blisters and a bully?" I stared at him, dumbstruck. That's the mystery again. Contentment takes the thorns of life and weaves them into a crown. Now, let's step into your world, because I know your days aren't like my quiet hamlets of old. You're living in a storm of your own, screens flashing, phones buzzing, 1,000 voices demanding your attention. Work piles up, deadlines choke you, bosses snap. And then there's the endless scroll, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you call it, where everyone's life looks perfect, new cars, beach getaways, flawless smiles. Ever felt that pang, that whisper of "I'm not enough"? I'd wager you have. Maybe you've lost a job, watched your savings dwindle, or just felt small in a big, loud world. It's a heavy load, isn't it? But here's where the mystery of contentment swoops in like a lifeline. Picture this: you're laid off tomorrow, panic sets in, right? Yet a contented heart says, "God's got a path, I'll walk it." Or you're stuck in a tiny flat, no exotic trips on the horizon. Contentment murmurs, "You've got shelter, a meal, and God's presence, what's missing?" It's freedom from the grind, a peace that doesn't need a viral post to prove its worth. Let me tell you about someone from your time. Call her Anna, a nurse I heard of through the grapevine. She worked grueling shifts in a hospital, tending to the sick during a plague that swept the globe. She poured herself out, barely sleeping, until one day the hospital slashed its staff, and she was out, no notice, no cushion. Her friends braced for her collapse, but when I met her, she sat calmly, sipping tea, and said, "Pastor, I don't know how I'll pay my bills, but I've got my health, my faith, and a chance to breathe after years of running. God's carrying me through." Anna wasn't blind, she felt the fear, the uncertainty, but she saw beyond it, like a sailor spotting land through the mist. That's the mystery: contentment doesn't dodge the waves, it rides them with trust. Here's one more tale, because the more you see this, the brighter it shines. There was a fisherman named Peter, not the apostle, mind you, but a weathered soul from my coastal parish. He'd fished those waters for decades, hauling nets under sun and storm alike. Then came a season when the fish vanished, nets came up empty day after day. His neighbors turned sour, cursing the sea, but Peter rowed out each morning anyway. One day, I asked him, "Peter, why keep going? You've got nothing to show for it?" He grinned, his face creased like old leather, and said, "Pastor, I've got the sea, the sky, and a boat that still floats. God's given me this day, fish or no fish, I'm rich." Rich? With empty nets? Yet his eyes sparkled. That's the mystery: contentment finds wealth where the world sees want. Let's peel back another layer: contentment blends joy with sorrow. It's not about slapping a smile over every ache, it's about holding both, like two hands clasped together. Picture a mother rocking her child after a tumble. She's tender with the hurt, yet glad to comfort. Contentment's that way. Samuel didn't love his master's whip, but he rejoiced in the strength it built in him. Anna didn't cheer when her job vanished, but she smiled knowing God was close. Peter didn't dance over empty nets, but he sang as he rowed. It's a strange, lovely harmony, grief and gladness singing together under God's sky. And here's the deepest piece yet: contentment humbles you while lifting you up. It strips away pride, I deserve better, and replaces it with awe. God's given me this, and it's enough. Robert learned it when his ships sank, Elizabeth felt it in her shed, Samuel grew into it under his master's lash. It's a paradox: the lower you bow, the higher you rise. In your world, where everyone's shouting to be seen, contentment quiets you, then fills you with a dignity no spotlight can match. So, my friends, what do we take from this mystery? It's not a trick you master or a prize you earn, it's a grace you receive, a gift you live into day by day. It's God teaching you to spot His hand in the flood, the cold, the empty nets, the lost job. It's freedom from the world's chase, a peace that says, I don't need more, I have Him. In your frantic, buzzing lives, emails piling up, likes trickling in, pressures mounting, it's a lifeline. Next time you're drowning, boss barking, rent due, or just feeling lost, stop, breathe, and pray, Lord, show me your hand here. Watch the mystery unfold, quiet and strong. I hope these stories of Robert's riverbank, Elizabeth's shed, Samuel's workbench, Anna's tea, Peter's boat have warmed you, like this fire chasing off the chill. The mystery of contentment is a rare jewel, more precious than gold, and it's yours to hold if you'll reach for it. Thank you for sitting with me, Jeremiah Burroughs, through this long, winding tale. There's more to come, and I'd love for you to stay along for the ride. What do you say? Shall we meet again by this hearth? Part 3, From the Mystery of Contentment to How Christ Teaches Contentment. So, my friends, what do we take from this mystery? It's not a trick you master or a prize you earn, it's a grace you receive, a gift you live into day by day. It's God teaching you to spot His hand in the flood, the cold, the empty nets, the lost job. It's freedom from the world's chase, a peace that says, I don't need more, I have Him. In your frantic, buzzing lives, emails piling up, likes trickling in, pressures mounting, it's a lifeline. Next time you're drowning, boss barking, rent due, or just feeling lost, stop, breathe, and pray, Lord, show me your hand here. Watch the mystery unfold, quiet and strong. I hope these stories of Robert's riverbank, Elizabeth's shed, Samuel's workbench, Anna's tea, Peter's boat have warmed you, like this fire chasing off the chill. The mystery of contentment is a rare jewel, more precious than gold, and it's yours to hold if you'll reach for it. But here's where it gets even better: this jewel doesn't just glow on its own, it comes with a teacher, the most extraordinary one who ever walked this earth. So, don't drift away now, because we're about to step into something breathtaking: how Christ teaches contentment. He's the guide who doesn't just point the way, He takes your hand and walks you through it. Trust me, this is a story you won't want to miss. Shall we stoke the fire and dive in? Let's go. Hello again, my dear friends. We're still here, gathered in this snug little room, the fire roaring now, its flames dancing like they're cheering us on. The wind outside weaves a wild, haunting tune through the night, and I, Jeremiah Burroughs, or at least the spirit of that old pastor from long ago, am back to sweep you deeper into my book, The Rare Jewel of Christian Contentment. We've felt the sweet peace of contentment, marveled at its mystery blooming in the darkest corners, but today, we're climbing higher. We're stepping into Part 3, How Christ Teaches Contentment. This isn't just a chapter, it's a revelation, a masterclass from the King of Kings himself. Contentment isn't a gift He tosses from afar, it's a lesson He kneels beside you to teach, with love and patience that'll steal your breath. I've got tales to spin, stories of broken hearts made whole, weary souls lifted up plus truths that'll sink deep and stick with you. So, pull that chair closer, let the firelight flicker in your eyes. I'm taking you on a journey that'll grip your soul and maybe even change your life. Ready? Here we go. Why Christ? Because he's not just the giver of contentment, he's the craftsman who shapes it in you, the shepherd who leads you to still waters when the world's a raging storm. Life hurls its chaos at us, loss that cuts deep, want that gnaws, pain that lingers, and we're left floundering, grasping for answers. But Christ doesn't stand back, arms crossed, saying, "Figure it out." No. He steps in, rolls up his sleeves, and teaches us how to stand steady. He's the teacher who doesn't just lecture, he lives it, breathes it, shows us the way with every step he took on this earth. Let me walk you through how he does it, with stories that'll paint the picture and lessons that'll light your path. First, Christ teaches contentment by his example. Picture this: he came into the world not in a castle with trumpets blaring, but in a dusty stable, the air thick with the smell of hay and animals. No silk robes, just strips of cloth wrapped around a tiny, fragile frame. He grew up in Nazareth, a nowhere town, swinging a hammer in a carpenter's shop, splinters in his hands, sweat on his brow. When he set out to preach, he didn't ride a chariot, he walked dusty roads, slept under stars, and said, "The Son of Man has no place to lay his head." No palace, no riches, no comfort, yet did you ever see him restless? Bitter? No. He carried a peace that stopped storms literally. I think of him by that well in Samaria, bone-tired, parched, yet offering a woman with a shattered life the water of eternity. Or on that cross, nails tearing his flesh, blood dripping, yet he's praying, "Father, forgive them." That's contentment, not needing the world's treasures to be rich, not needing ease to be at ease. He shows us it's not a dream, it's real, and we can live it too. Let me tell you a story from my days to make this sing. There was a baker named Margaret in my village, a woman whose smile could warm a room faster than her oven. She wasn't wealthy, sold her bread for pennies, but she'd sneak extra loaves to widows and orphans, her heart as generous as her hands. Then came a night of horror. A fire sparked in her shop, and by morning, it was ash, oven, flour, dreams, all gone. I trudged over, my boots crunching on charred wood, expecting a woman undone. But there she was, outside the ruins, kneading dough on a rickety table borrowed from a neighbor, singing a hymn under her breath. "Pastor," she said, her eyes bright, "Christ fed thousands with a boy's lunch. He didn't even have an oven. If he can do that with nothing, I can start over with this." I stood there, jaw slack, watching her roll out dough like it was gold. She'd learned from Christ's example. Contentment isn't tied to what you hold, it's tied to who holds you. That's his first lesson, written in his life for us to read. Next, Christ teaches contentment by his word. He doesn't leave us fumbling in the dark, he hands us a lantern, his voice cutting through the noise of our worries. Listen to him in Matthew, "Look at the birds of the air, they don't sow or reap or store away in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they?" Or later, "Don't worry about tomorrow, what you'll eat, what you'll wear. Seek first God's kingdom, and all these things will be given to you." It's like a cool breeze on a sweltering day, soothing the panic in your chest. He's saying, lift your eyes, stop chasing shadows. My Father's got you. His words aren't just pretty, they're a lifeline, pulling you from the quicksand of want into the solid ground of trust. I saw this take root in a farmer named Thomas, not the flood-stricken one from before, but another man of the soil. His fields were his pride, golden wheat swaying in the sun until a blight swept through, blackening half his crop overnight. His neighbors wailed, shook fists at the sky, but Thomas came to me one evening, his hat in hand, dirt still under his nails. "Pastor," he said, "I was ready to give up, sell the farm, call it quits." Then I opened my Bible and read Christ talking about the lilies, how they don't spin or toil, yet God dresses them finer than kings. I thought, if he's tending flowers, he's tending me. His voice cracked, but his eyes shone. He didn't shrug off the loss he felt, every stalk gone, but Christ's words anchored him. That's how he teaches. His word isn't just ink on a page, it's a voice whispering peace when the world's falling apart. Here's another way, and oh, this one's a marvel. Christ teaches contentment by his Spirit. When you give your life to him, he doesn't just wave from a distance, he moves in, his Holy Spirit settling in your soul like a quiet flame. It's not loud, no trumpets, no fanfare, just a gentle presence, nudging you, steadying you, turning your chaos into calm. Think of Paul, locked in a Roman dungeon, chains clanking, rats scurrying, yet he writes, I've learned the secret of being content in any circumstance. How? The Spirit of Christ was his cellmate, turning iron bars into a cathedral of peace. It's that still, small voice that says, I'm here, you're enough. Let me paint you a picture with Joan, a weaver from my parish. She was a tough old bird, hands gnarled from decades at her loom, weaving blankets that kept half the village warm. But then her only son, her pride and joy, took sick, a cough that wouldn't quit, and he slipped away in a night. I sat with her as she sobbed, the room heavy with grief, expecting her to crumble for good. But a week later, she called me over, her loom clacking again. Pastor, she said, her voice soft, I was lost, wanted to burn this loom and be done. But one night, I felt him, Christ, right there, like a hand on my shoulder. No words, just peace, telling me I could go on. Tears welled, but she smiled. That was the Spirit, teaching her contentment through a wound that'd break most hearts. It's a mystery wrapped in love. He doesn't just comfort, he rebuilds. And here's one more layer, because Christ's teaching is a deep well, he teaches contentment by his cross. This is the heartbeat of it all. Look at him there, betrayed, mocked, nailed up like a criminal. Every breath agony, every moment a torment. Yet he doesn't curse, he blesses. He doesn't hate, he forgives. He doesn't cling, he surrenders. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. That's contentment at its rawest, not fighting the pain, but trusting through it. The cross says, even here, I'm enough. It's the lesson that cuts deepest, because if he can find peace in that hell, he can guide you through yours. Let me tell you about Abigail, a fisherman's wife from my coastal flock. Her husband was her rock tall, broad, hauling nets like they weighed nothing. But one stormy night, the sea took him, swallowed his boat whole. She was left with 3 little ones, no money, and a cottage leaking like a sieve. The village pitched in, fish here, a coin there, but hunger still knocked at her door. Yet every Sunday, she'd stand in church, her voice soaring above us all, singing hymns like she owned the world. I cornered her once, curious. Abigail, how do you sing like that? She looked at me, eyes fierce, and said, Pastor, Christ hung on that cross for me, took my sin, my shame. If he can carry that, I can carry this. I feel him lifting me, every step. Her kids clung to her skirts, and she glowed. She'd learned from the cross contentment isn't the absence of struggle, it's the presence of Christ in it. Now, let's step into your world, because I know it's a battlefield. Jobs that drain you, screens that taunt you, a pace that leaves you gasping. Maybe you're staring down a pink slip, your savings a ghost, or a dream you buried years ago. I've heard your stories scrolling Instagram, seeing lives polished to perfection, while yours feels like a cracked mirror. The pressure's relentless, prove yourself, keep up, don't fall behind. But Christ's lessons crash through that storm. His example shouts, I had nothing, you don't need everything. His word sings, you're seen, you're valued, rest in that. His Spirit whispers, I'm with you, let go. His cross declares, I've carried worse, you can too. That's how he teaches you, right in the muck of your Monday mornings. Take James, a factory worker from your time, a man I heard of through whispers. He'd saved a small fortune, dreaming of a house with a yard for his kids. Then a recession hit, markets tanked, his savings evaporated overnight. His wife said he sat like a statue for days, staring at nothing. But one morning, he cracked open his Bible, landed on Christ feeding 5,000 with scraps, and something shifted. "Pastor," he told me, "if Jesus can turn a kid's lunch into a feast, he can turn my nothing into something." I felt him like a voice saying, "Keep walking." James didn't laugh off the loss it stung, but Christ's lessons pulled him through: example, word, spirit, cross, all at once. That's the teaching you can grab hold of. One more tale, because these lives are fireworks in the night. There was a cobbler named Daniel in my town, quiet, stooped, always tinkering with shoes. He'd lost his wife young, raised 4 daughters alone on a pittance. Then a flood swept through, ruined his shop tools, leather, gone. I found him knee-deep in mud, salvaging what he could, and thought, this'll break him. But he looked up, grinned, and said, "Pastor, Christ walked on water, calmed it with a word. My shop's a mess, but he's still here, fixing me up." He hammered a sole, whistling. Daniel learned from Christ's power and presence. Contentment isn't about a dry floor, it's about a steady heart. So, how does Christ teach contentment? He shows you himself poor yet rich, broken yet whole. He speaks to you words that cut through fear like a blade. He lives in you, his spirit a flame that won't flicker out. He dies for you, his cross a banner of trust in the worst of times. In your world, deadlines crushing, phones blaring, hope fraying, he's the same teacher. Job gone? He whispers, "I fed thousands, you won't starve." Bills piling up? He says, "Birds don't fret, neither should you." Alone in the dark? He's there, closer than your shadow. That's the beauty, he doesn't just hand you contentment, he carves it into you, lesson by lesson. So, my friends, as this fire blazes before us, let it sink in. Christ is your teacher, and his schoolroom is your life, every shattered plan, every sleepless night, every quiet dawn. Next time the world slams you, boss roars, screen mocks, heart aches, turn to him. Say, "Lord, teach me like you taught Margaret's oven, Thomas's fields, Joan's loom, James's loss, Abigail's song, Daniel's mud." Watch him work, gentle, mighty, sure. Thank you for sitting with me, Jeremiah Burroughs, by this roaring hearth. We've got more to explore. Will you stay for the next tale? I hope you will. Part 4, from how Christ teaches contentment to the excellence of contentment. So, my friends, as this fire blazes before us, let it sink in. Christ is your teacher, and his schoolroom is your life, every shattered plan, every sleepless night, every quiet dawn. Next time the world slams you, boss roars, screen mocks, heart aches, turn to him. Say, "Lord, teach me like you taught Margaret's oven, Thomas's fields, Joan's loom, James's loss, Abigail's song, Daniel's mud." Watch him work, gentle, mighty, sure. Thank you for sitting with me, Jeremiah Burroughs, by this roaring hearth. We've felt contentment's peace, unraveled its mystery, and seen how Christ shapes it in us. But here's where it gets even richer. Contentment isn't just a lesson to learn, it's a treasure to cherish, a crown that shines brighter than anything this world offers. So, don't wander off yet, because we're stepping into something glorious, the excellence of contentment. This is where you'll see why this rare jewel is worth everything, why it's not just good, but great. Ready to stoke the fire and dive in? Let's go. Hello again, my dear friends. We're still here, gathered tight in this cozy room, the fire leaping high now, its golden light painting shadows that dance across the walls. The wind outside howls a wild, restless song, but in here, we're safe, warm, and ready for more. I'm Jeremiah Burroughs, or at least the voice of that old pastor, carried across centuries to guide you deeper into my book, The Rare Jewel of Christian Contentment. We've walked a winding path together, we've tasted the sweet peace of contentment, marveled at its mystery, and sat at Christ's feet to learn how he teaches it. But today, we're climbing to a new height. We're stepping into part 4, the excellence of contentment. This isn't just about having it, this is about why it's so precious, why it's a prize above gold, a jewel that outshines every worldly crown. I've got stories to weave, tales of hearts transformed, lives lifted, and truths that'll make you see contentment in a dazzling new light. So, settle in, let the fire's glow wrap around you. I'm taking you on a journey that'll stir your soul and leave you longing for this rare gift. Here we go. What makes contentment excellent? It's not just that it calms you, it's that it crowns you. It's not just a balm for your troubles, it's a badge of honor, a mark of a soul aligned with God Himself. The world chases after glittering things, wealth, fame, power, but contentment? It's the quiet king of virtues, sitting steady while the rest scramble and fall. It's excellent because it lifts you above the storm, sets you free from the chains of want, and fills you with a joy that nothing can steal. Let me show you why, with stories that'll paint its worth in colors you won't forget. First, contentment is excellent because it gives you true freedom. The world ties you up, ropes of greed, chains of envy, shackles of if only I had more. But contentment cuts those cords clean through. It says, you don't need to run after what you don't have, you're whole right now. It's like a bird breaking free from a cage, wings wide, soaring where it pleases. I saw this in a merchant named Henry from my flock, a man who'd once sailed the seas for profit, stacking coins like trophies. But a rival cheated him, sank his business, left him with a leaky shop and a handful of debts. I found him sweeping the floor one day, his fine silk traded for rough wool. "Pastor," he said, "I used to think freedom was a full purse, now I see it's a light heart. I've got less, but I'm freer than ever." His broom moved steady, his face calm. That's the excellence of contentment, it unshackles you from the world's game. Let me spin you another tale. There was a seamstress named Ruth in my village, a tiny woman with a laugh like bells. She stitched dresses for the gentry, her fingers nimble, but she lived in a one-room hovel, her table wobbly, her roof patched with straw. One year, a flood drowned her little stash of cloth, her livelihood washed away. I rushed over, expecting sobs, but she was threading a needle by candlelight, humming. "Pastor," she said, "I've got this needle, a scrap of thread, and God's good grace. I'm not a slave to what I've lost, I'm free to start again." Her eyes twinkled like stars. Contentment didn't just save her, it set her soaring, wings unbound by loss. That's its excellence, it turns a cage into a sky. Next, contentment is excellent because it brings you unshakable peace. The world's peace is fragile, built on sand, washed away by the next wave. A fat bank account, a big house, a perfect day, lose one, and it crumbles. But contentment's peace? It's a rock, rooted deep, standing firm when the tempest roars. It's the calm that says, "I've got God, nothing can shake me." Think of Paul and Silas in that jail, feet in stocks, backs raw from whips, yet singing hymns at midnight. That's not madness, that's mastery, a peace no chain can break. I saw this in a fisherman named Simon, not Peter from before, but another weathered soul by the sea. He'd fished those waters since he was a boy, his boat his pride. Then a storm smashed it to splinters, his nets, his oars, his living, gone. I met him on the shore, waves still angry, and thought he'd be raging too. But he sat carving a new oar, his hands steady. "Pastor," he said, "I lost my boat, but not my peace. God's still king of the sea, I'll fish again." His voice was low, sure, like the tide itself. Contentment didn't just soothe him, it armored him. That's its excellence, it's a fortress no storm can topple. Here's another shine of its brilliance: contentment is excellent because it makes you rich in spirit. The world counts riches in coins, in titles, in stuff, but contentment counts them in the soul. It says, You're wealthy when you're full of God, not gold. It's like a beggar finding a banquet in a crust of bread, a king with no crown outshining a miser with a vault. I think of Christ himself poor by every measure, yet richer than emperors, because his heart was full of the Father. Let me tell you about Mary, a widow in my parish. She'd lost her husband young, lived in a shack with a dirt floor, her only wealth a milking cow. Then the cow died, no milk, no butter, no pennies from the market. I knocked on her door, bracing for despair, but she was stirring a pot of thin soup, her face bright. "Pastor," she said, "I've got this broth, a roof, and God's promises I'm richer than I look." She ladled me a bowl, and I swear it tasted like a feast. Mary wasn't pretending she was rich, not in coin, but in contentment's gold. That's its excellence, it turns poverty into plenty. Now, let's bring this to your doorstep, because I know your world's a whirlwind: jobs that grind you down, screens that dazzle and deceive, a race you can't win. Maybe you're scraping by, rent looming, or watching friends flash their perfect lives online: new cars, dream trips, filtered smiles. Ever felt that ache, that I'm falling behind? I'd bet you have. The world says, you're nothing without more. But Contentment's excellence says, you're everything with God. Lose your paycheck? It whispers, your free money's not your master. Stuck in a cramped flat? It sings, you've got peace, walls don't measure wealth. That's the jewel shining in your chaos. Take Sarah, a woman from your time, a single mom I heard of through whispers. She worked 2 jobs, juggling kids and bills, until a factory closed, slashing her hours. Her fridge grew bare, her landlord impatient. Friends thought she'd snap, but I found her at a park, her kids chasing leaves, her sipping coffee from a chipped mug. "Pastor," she said, "I've got less cash, but more calm. God's my roof, I'm not poor." Her laugh rang out, free and full. Contentment didn't just hold her, it crowned her, a queen in a threadbare coat. That's its excellence, it turns want into wealth. One more layer, because this jewel has endless facets: contentment is excellent because it glorifies God. When you're content, you're a mirror reflecting His goodness, a song praising His name. The world grumbles God's not enough. But you say, He's everything. It's like a lantern glowing in the dark, showing others the way. Think of Job stripped bare, yet praising. Or Christ dying, yet trusting. That's glory, shining through a contented heart. Let me weave you a final tale. There was a blacksmith named John in my town, big, burly, his hammer ringing day and night. A fire took his forge, his anvil, his bellows, his trade, up in smoke. I trudged through the ashes, expecting a giant brought low, but he was hauling charred wood, sweat on his brow, a grin splitting his face. "Pastor," he said, "God gave me these hands, I'll build again. Every nail I drive sings His praise." His hammer rang out, a hymn in iron. John didn't just survive, he shone, contentment making him a beacon. That's its excellence, it turns your life into a light for God. So, my friends, why is contentment excellent? It frees you from the world's chains, steadies you with unshakable peace, fills you with spiritual riches, and lifts you to glorify God. In your world, deadlines choking, screens taunting, dreams fading, it's a crown worth wearing. Job lost? You're free. Bills mount? You're at peace. Alone? You're rich in Him. That's the treasure Christ hands you, polished by His teaching. As this fire roars, let it burn in you. Contentment's excellence is yours, wear it like Henry, Ruth, Simon, Mary, Sarah, John. Next time life kicks, boss snarls, feed scrolls, heart sinks, hold it tight. Say, Lord, let me shine with this. Thank you for sitting by this hearth with me, Jeremiah Burroughs. More awaits, will you stay? I hope so.